Hi, hello there. Welcome to BD's Fashion Academy YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking about the topic Know Your Tape. Know Your Tape. This is a very beginner friendly tutorial. It is good for all those that are new into the craft of sewing but really don't know how to read their tape. The tape measure is one of the most important instruments we use as tailors, designers, and all. So it will be good for a start to know how to read the tape measure. Even if you have been in this class for a while and you don't really know how to read your tape measure, this is a very good tutorial for you to begin with. I hope you get value from this tutorial. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you very much, and I would like you to press the like button. This is going to help me a lot. It's going to go a long way for this channel. Thank you. Good day everyone. Welcome to another free tutorial from the stable of BD's Fashion Academy. This tutorial this morning is a beginner friendly tutorial. Today we'll be knowing more about our tape measure. As you all know, as a fashion designer, as a tailor, as somebody that sews, there's one important instrument that you need to make a good dress. One of those things you need is a good tape measure. So here I have here with me a tape rule. This is a 60-inch tape rule. I have a small size here and I have a big size here. Looking at both tape measures, you see that though one is big and the other is small, their measurements are the same. The difference between both tape measures are the size. The difference is just the size. You can see that they are the same, but it's just a matter of preference. Some people prefer the tiny one and some other people prefer the big tape measure. But that's not what we are discussing today. What we are discussing is knowing more about our tape rule. Like I said earlier, this is a 60-inch tape rule. It's a 60-inch tape rule. So now we want to know what these lines on our tape measure mean. Like we know they have been numbered, but in between the numbers we can see little lines in between. These little lines confuse most people, especially beginners, when they start the journey of fashion designing. So we want to know more about these lines. The first thing I'll tell you about these lines is that they are all the same. The difference between these lines are these numbers. But looking at the lines, they are all the same. They carry the same value. What differentiates their value is that 1 is lower than 2, 2 is lower than 3, and going on like that. Now we'll just pick one of the tape measures. Let's use the bigger one because it's bolder. From this is the beginning of the tape measure to 1 inch. Meanwhile, our tape measure has two sides. Before I go on, we have the side which is measured in inches, and we have the other side which is measured in centimeter. But we are talking more about the inch side today because most times we use inches to measure here in Nigeria. So now I said we should look at the lines from the beginning of the tape measure to where we have 1 inch. I want us to study these lines from here to here. Now, counting these lines, we'll see that there are 8. We are starting from the beginning of the tape measure. This is a short line here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these 8 lines make up an inch. To make it clearer, I have drawn a diagram of an inch on my paper here. I don't know if you can see this well. I have drawn a diagram of an inch. This diagram I've drawn here is representing from the beginning of your tape measure to where your 1 inch starts, to where your 1 inch gets to from the beginning. The tape measure is starting from here. So this place, this beginning of tape measure is represented by this line marked 0. Then the lines, I have 8 lines here that I've made. So this is just an inch. Now look at my line. You can see that I have written some fractions under these lines. Like I said before, I counted those lines between 0 to 1 inch. I counted 8 lines in all. And if you look in between all the inches, you see that there are 8 lines in all. So this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These 8 lines make up an inch. Now I labeled the first line 1/8. You can see the first line is a little bit short, is short. The next line is a little bit longer. I marked it I wrote 2/8 underneath that line. The third line is the same size with the first line. Please, as you are going on with this tutorial, I want you to go along with your tape measure so that you see that what we are doing is very easy. Just put your mind to it. Don't let the numbers confuse you, because that was the challenge I had to when I just started sewing. I was like, what are the meanings of these lines? How will I divide? How will I subtract? But later on I got an hang of it. So like I said earlier, this is the first line. It's 1/8 is the first line. It's short. The next line is a little bit longer. That's 2/8. The third line is the same length to the first line. That's 3/8. The fourth line is longer than the previous lines. That's 4/8. The fifth line is just like the third and fourth line. That's 5/8. The sixth line is like the second line, same length to the second line. That's 6/8. The seventh line is like the fifth, third and fourth line. That's 7/8. Then the last line, which is an inch, is 8/8. So we'll do a little bit of calculation here. I have my phone with me. So we'll do a little bit of calculation here. Now the first line, let me write my values down. I have the first line, which is 1/8. Let's divide, do that division. 1 divided by 8 is 0.125. Remember, we're taught approximation in maybe primary or secondary school. You can approximate this 5 and it could be 0.13, but let's just write this value down. Then 2/8, 2 divided by 8 will give us 0.25. 2 divided by 8 will give us 0.25, which could also be or 1/4. That's 2 here 1, 2 here 4. Remember that division we did in primary school. The 3/8 will give us, let's do that again, 3 divided by 8 will give us 0.375. 4/8 will give us 0.5 or 1/2. Then 5/8, 5 divided by 8 will give us 0.625. 6/8, 6 divided by 8 will give us 0.75. then 7 over 8, 7 over 8 to give us 0.875. 8 over 8 will give us 1. Now looking at these fractions here, so that means our 1 over 8 here is equal to 0.125. 2 over 8 here is 1 over 4, which is quarter of an inch. When we say quarter of an inch, quarter is an inch divided into 4. Let's say this circle is equal to an inch. 1 over 4 is one side of this circle. 1 over 4 is one side of this circle. So this is 1/4 of an inch. This 3 over 8 is 0.375. 4 over 8 is half of an inch. That means this whole box is divided into 2 here on this pot. This is half of an inch. Then we have 5 over 8, which is 0.625. 6 over 8, which is half and quarter. Half and quarter. So 0.75 of an inch is half plus a quarter of an inch. Then 7 over 8 is 0.875. Then 8 over 8 is 1. So from here to here is 1 inch. Now to make it easier, because at times these fractions can confuse somebody that doesn't like to deal with numbers, but please, I beg you, if you know you are going to go into this sewing career, you just have to at least a little bit of division, a little bit of numbers here and there. What when I was taught, when I started sewing, what I was taught and made it easy for me to understand my tape measure was that we're told to discard 1 over 8, discard it, and circling those that you will discard because the fractions are a little bit confusing. Discard these 4 fractions. So what we're taught then was that from here, from this line, 0.0 to the first line is a bar of an inch. We call it a bar. When I was in fashion school, that was how we were taught. We call from here to here a bar. Then from here to here is quarter of an inch, 1 over 4. From here to here is a bar. Here to here is a bar. So 1/4 of an inch is 2 bars. So instead of calling it 2 bars, we just say quarter of an inch. So when our instructor says quarter of an inch, we know what he's saying. If he says quarter of an inch and a bar, we know what he's saying. That means he's saying quarter of an inch plus a bar. Each section here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, is a bar each. So this is a bar. This is quarter of an inch. Quarter of an inch plus this is a quarter of an inch and a bar, or 3 bars. Then from quarter of an inch and a bar to here is half an inch. So 4 bars make up half an inch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of an inch and a bar is from here to here. Half of an inch and a quarter of an inch is from here to here, or we call it 0.75 to make it easier for us. Then from here to here is another bar. From here to here is another bar, which makes from here to here an inch. I just hope you put your mind to this and understand. It is very, very, very easy. Just take time to study your tape measure well. We have 8 lines. The first line here is 1 over 8 of an inch. Instead of confusing yourself with fractions, just call it a bar. Then from here to here is quarter of an inch. Quarter of an inch. From here to here is half of an inch. So if I ask you to measure half an inch, you know what I mean. It's from here to here. If I ask you to measure a quarter of an inch, you know it's from here to here. If I ask you to measure 0.75 straight off, you know I'm talking about half an inch plus another quarter of an inch. If I tell you to measure 1 inch, you know what I'm saying. If I say measure quarter of an inch and a bar, you know quarter of an inch is here plus 1 bar, this is it here. If I tell you to measure 0.75 and a bar, know that this is 0.75 and a bar. This is quite easy. I hope you put your mind to it. Watch this video over and over again and you get to understand it. But before we round up this knowing your tape measure well, another thing that used to confuse me when I just started sewing then was I didn't know what made up a yard. 36 inches makes up a yard of fabric. So when you measure your tape and you measure from here down to 36 inches, that is a yard. That is a yard. 36 inches makes up a yard. Then 45 inches. 45 inches is a trouser. That's what they call it in the market. So when you want to buy one trouser of fabric, you know you are buying 45 inches. 45 inches, 36 inches make up a yard. But nowadays, we see that some of our fabrics don't even get to 36 inches that they call it. Some people measure 34, some people measure 35, some people measure 36. But in the books, 36 inches is equal to a yard. So I hope you have gained value, you've gotten value from this video. In our next video, we'll be showing you how to take the perfect measurement. Thank you.